right, everyone, once again, welcome and thank you so much for joining our land banking for profit here in Belize session. I'm really excited about this one. This has been a time-proven method for investors who are looking to make a profit from real estate here in Belize. As we know, there are a couple of different ways to make money from real estate ownership. Sometimes you have tenants, whether it's a vacation renter or a long-term renter. And in this case specifically, we're going to talk about the buy and hold method. Buy land, hold on to it, let it appreciate in value. So we're going to break that down a little bit more, but once again, wanted to say thank you for all of those of you who are joining us on this session live here on May 3rd, and then those, of course, that are listening on YouTube afterwards. So it is going to be, I would say, about 30 to 35 minutes of information, and then from there, we'll go through the Q&A at the end. So we're going to do a couple of case studies to see what's going on in the market, specifically on Ambergris Caye. I have 3 top tips that I want to share with you, and then 1 major mistake to make sure you're avoiding. And then, of course, we're going to go through the opportunities for profit. This is a chance for you to jump in and capitalize on the market here. So with that being said, Belize, if Belize is new to you, just as a quick overview, Belize is about the size of Massachusetts. Population-wise, we're still a very small population, about 400,000. Our currency here is pegged to the US dollar, so 2 Belize dollars to 1 US dollar. However, please note that all of the numbers and the pricing that you see in the presentation is going to be in US dollars. It is actually pretty standard for real estate to be priced in US dollars, so you don't have to try to do any of the conversions. That is actually one thing, though, that a lot of people say they wish was in Belize dollars, because then you just cut it in half. But real estate will be in US. Of course, this is one of the big reasons why we're seeing more and more people are starting to look at Belize, is because English is the official language. So if you want to spend more time here, if you want to live here, or just simply if you want an investment property, you're familiar with the language. It's also common law. So as you're reading through paperwork, it's going to seem very familiar. It is going to be very familiar to those of you who are living in a common law environment already. So you don't have to learn Spanish. You don't have to learn Creole. However, you will hear those spoken fairly regularly when you're here in person. But English is the official language. It's what is taught in school. In addition to that, Belize has really been a mecca that is known for its diving and fishing and snorkeling. The marine life here is a huge reason why people are coming down to the country, and really why the country started out as a tourism destination in the 70s. So if you can follow my cursor, the reef, it's the longest living reef in the world, is the Mesoamerican reef, and it parallels Ambergris Caye. This is Ambergris Caye right up here. It parallels Ambergris Caye and then continues down the coastline of Belize. As it continues down the coastline, it actually moves further from the coast. So one of the big advantages here on Ambergris, and why Ambergris Caye has been such a popular destination for divers and fishermen and snorkelers, is because it literally is hugging the reef, the island here, the coastline. You can just look right out the window and see the reef there breaking in the distance. But in addition to that, there's more than just aquatic activities here. The mainland is a lush jungle landscape where you have Mayan ruin sites, cave tubing, hiking, really incredible wildlife there. The Belize Zoo is probably one of the best zoos I've encountered in the world. It's the natural animals and their natural habitat here in the country. You see jaguars, you can see the scarlet macaws, you can see the toucans. It's really just a phenomenal place. But really in the 70s is when tourism started in Belize, specifically to Ambergris Caye for the diving and fishing and snorkeling. It was more of the adventure travelers who are coming, people who were spending money in the water versus on accommodation. So things were a little rustic. It was mom and pop type operations. You know, it was not necessarily fancy. But however, over the last 50 years, what we've seen is this transition of travelers who are coming to Belize. We're seeing more of the mainstream travelers. So it's not just those divers and fishermen and snorkelers. Now we're seeing families. We're seeing retreats happen out here. Spotify, for example, they just had their retreat at the Alaya Hotel, which is a Marriott Autograph property just right down the beach from where I'm at here on Ambergris Caye. So the corporate events are starting to come here to the island because now we have the space to accommodate them. So the island has been transitioning to accommodate more of these mainstream travelers. And something that we're seeing is a lot of families with young children, like we're seeing the retreats that are coming, the bachelorette parties. And so it's becoming this destination that more and more people are hearing about, more and more people are intrigued by. And it tends to be why a lot of people gravitate towards real estate here, because they're seeing now that the market is on the rise, and it's going quickly on the rise. I've been here for 13 years and can tell you I never expected the island to be what it is today, but we'll jump into that. So overall though, Belize tends to be an investor's paradise. Here are a couple of big reasons why. Number one is rental income tax is low. It's 1.75%. 1.75% for rental income tax. In addition to that, there's 0% capital gains. 0% capital gains. And this is why land banking tends to be a popular investment method for folks down here. So you can buy land at $50,000 today, sell it in 10 years, we'll say for $120,000. And then on that $70,000 gain, you pay 0% here in Belize. Now, your home country is your home country. You'll have to talk to your accountant about that. But this is big because prior to owning this real estate company, I worked with a real estate developer here in Belize. They were based all throughout Latin America, actually. So Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Belize, Panama, El Salvador, Argentina. And this is the only country that has 0% capital gains. I recently sold property I had in Panama and had to pay the Panamanian government, I think it was like 10 or 15%. So coming here and not having that obligation to the Belize government is substantial. In addition to that, there's low property tax. It's 1% of the unimproved land. So it does not matter if there's anything built on it or not. It's 1% of the unimproved land. And it's not based on what you pay for it. It's based on what it was when it was originally registered as a property in the country. So I'll go through a couple of those examples too. But I mean, just generally for land, we know if it's like 100 by 50 parcel, 100 feet by 50 feet, you can typically expect to pay about $100 to $150, maybe $200 US for the year, for the entire year. And that doesn't translate too far from condos as well. So you'll typically see anywhere from $200 to $500, $600 a year for a condo or a home. But it's just really unbelievable to see what those taxes are. So with low property taxes, with 0% capital gains, having land, holding onto it, let it appreciate, and then selling it is a very popular method. And it's one that we see more and more people are interested in doing while the land is still the cost that it is. We're seeing properties increase, prices increase, makes sense. More people are learning about Belize, discovering that this country even exists. You know, they'll go to Google or Pinterest or something, type in the country, look at pictures, and they're like, oh, this is really beautiful. And then as they start to dig into it and say, oh, I can own real estate down here as a foreigner, then we start to get more and more people coming down. So then this last point over here, this is actually significant, very, very significant, is you as a foreigner can own the property and you receive title to it. We just had an open house yesterday for one of the condos, and we had a couple stop in from Idaho. And they were telling us how they were originally looking at Mexico. They're big fly fishermen, and they go to Mahawal and Ishkalak, and they're here on Ambergris Caye because they heard the fly fishing was really good, and also because they heard that they can own the property outright. There's no lease. They don't have to get bank trust involved. It's theirs. They own it. They can do with it what they want. So really big reasons why people are choosing Belize over other destinations. Now, when it comes to land banking, it's going to be very important to be choosing the right location at the right time, depending on what your goals are. So first and foremost, I will say Ambergris Caye is the most popular destination out of the entire country. I have it circled over here in the Navy. Ambergris Caye is very popular because of the dive sites, literally right off the coast. Within 5 minutes, you can be off the coast, into the water, at the reef, and doing all those water activities. And even if you're not necessarily a water bug, this has been the part of the country that's grown the quickest. And so we tend to have more happening here, more live music, more things for tourists to do, a robust expat community. So we do want to be following where the tourists are going when we're coming to look at our investment strategy. So you can see year after year, Ambergris Caye continues to be the #1 destination for the entire country. We're continuing to see, again, the tourism rates at all-time highs. And this is from 2024. The light blue, we can see it's outperforming the 2 years prior to that when it comes to tourism here on the island. Again, it's the water activities and not just the water activities. I know many people who come here who they like to sit by the water. Maybe they perhaps to go in a pool, but they just like the feel of the country. They like the feel of the island. It's welcoming, it's charming, it's colorful, right? It's that Caribbean island feel here with English as the official language. So, and then in this picture, you can kind of see it, but I can see it actually pretty well. There's the cobalt blue, and then there's coral right over here. This is the reef, and then it gets to a lighter blue, and this is the inside of the reef. So you can see how close that is from the coastline of Ambergris Caye over here. So with that being said, we're seeing that growth is happening quickly on Ambergris Caye. I would say I've been here, like I mentioned, 13 years. Over the last 5 years is really where we've seen exponential growth on Ambergris Caye. The first 7, 8 years I was here, first in 2012, Skype was blocked. We did not have WhatsApp. The power was going out fairly frequently. I was working, right? So whenever the power went out, then I guess I can't work. We'd go visit the beach bar next to us. All of our friends would be there. I had like a lot of retiree friends too, right? Because at that time, it wasn't many digital nomads. So, me and my 70-year-old friends, 80-year-old friends would be sitting there catching up on life. And then the power would come back. I'd have to go back to work. And at this time now, we have very infrequent power outages. In fact, it is really only planned power outages that we have. Every now and again, we'll have brownouts, but definitely not like before. We have fiber optic internet, which is not something that we had before. So we can do calls like this without it getting interrupted. But we're just seeing an incredible growth of primarily the north side of the island. So Ambergris Caye really started in the town of San Pedro. It was a small fishing village, 9 initial families that came here to be fishermen here on Ambergris Caye. And then since then, it has just kept multiplying and growing. And when town was originally started, it was here in San Pedro. There's a cut like right around this area over here. And that's where this pin is. This is the cut. And so there was no bridge at one point, then there was a crank bridge. And then in 2006, they put a 1-lane bridge. And then last year they put another lane. So now it's a 2-lane bridge. But until they really had that bridge here, town and activities and life were happening on the south side. So this is why the south side grew first, because see that cut right there? There wasn't always the transportation over. Once they put that bridge in, and then once they paved the road going about 3.5 miles north in about 2015, 16, we saw this area just grow like no other. And I can tell you, when I first moved here in 2012, I was living within San Pedro town. I was 2 minutes away from work, 2 minutes from the grocery store, 2 minutes from the water. It was convenient. It was easy. I had no reason to go up north. And then my husband and I ended up moving up north in 2021. And it took a little bit of time to adjust, because instead of being everywhere within 2 minutes, it took 15, 20 minutes to get back to town. And we loved it because it was absolutely quiet. And now in our neighborhood that we're at about 3.5 miles north, new homes are going up all the time. A lot of activity. We can just see this transition from when we moved north. And again, in 2021, I wish I bought more land up north, because we're seeing those prices triple, quadruple easily at this point, of course, just depending on the location and size. But we're going to be talking about that. So here's an example from 2014. Here's the channel that I was talking about connecting San Pedro town to the north side. So it was a 1-lane bridge in 2014. But this is the San Mateo area. San Mateo is a local neighborhood. And we can see in 2014 compared to 2022, the growth, let me go back to that again, the growth of this area in less than 10 years is incredible. And this is a local neighborhood. And for me, when I look at properties and when I look at growth of places, if you can see the local neighborhoods are growing, that is one of the best indicators of health in the market. And the reason for that is as we have more local neighborhoods grow, that means more workers are coming, right? There's more of an industry, there's more of an economy, more people to serve in the service industry. So this is an example from 2022. Now let's look at the Ely subdivision. This is 2014. Ely subdivision is about 2.5 miles north, 2 miles, or south rather, south of San Pedro town. And this was 2014. And then you can see it again. Let me go 2014 to 2022. And if you look on the left, the bottom left-hand side where my cursor is, this area is Mahogany Bay. And you can see in 2014, they started getting the canals ready. They started just doing some, like the Hilton side had just opened up in 2014 or 15. And then 2022, it doesn't show all of the rows, but we just started to see over less than 10 years, hundreds of properties just get started here between the Hilton properties and then also the Marriott side of it. So it's pretty incredible to see this growth. Again, Ely subdivision is more of like an upper middle class neighborhood, I would say, and we're seeing that incredible growth. But when we start to look at what's going on here on the island, it's not a surprise. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. And we can see that this is the standard for growth of a location. Like you think Cancun, you think Cabo, right? What was it before currently is today? And you can just see prime examples here. Cancun, 1985 compared to 2011. 1966 in Cabo compared to what it was in 2012. And this is what we're seeing here on the island, specifically Secret Beach is one of the case studies we're going to be looking at. It's probably one of the best case studies here on Ambergris Caye, proof of concept, proof of seeing that the opportunities are here in the country. So this was Secret Beach, but really and truly was just a secret in 2016. Now we call it and refer to it as not so Secret Beach, but we've just seen a tremendous amount of growth happening there. And so, like I mentioned, Secret Beach is going to be the case study that we focus in on. And I'm going to give you just a couple of yearly overviews here. So Secret Beach in 2003, areas of Secret Beach were subdivided. So Secret Beach is essentially an area of land with different neighborhoods. So there's one neighborhood called Ambergris Bay. And in 2003, the councilwoman at the time had allocated land. Her name is Patty Garcia. We did a great interview with her. If anybody's interested in hearing it, we can certainly send that over to you, but she talks about this. So one of her responsibilities and one of the things that she really wanted to do was find land to give to her local Belizeans. And actually, Belizeans are entitled to land here. They have to put in an application, then they can get a lease from the government, and they can convert that lease to a fully titled property with a couple $1,000s. So she allocated land in Ambergris Bay there at Secret Beach. And she said she was knocking on doors, telling people, hey, we have land. If you want it, all you have to do is put in your application. And Ambergris Bay is probably one of the prime areas, the prime neighborhoods of Secret Beach right now. And she said nobody wanted it. She said everybody was saying there's no access there. It's swampland. What are they going to do with it? They want land in town instead. And so she's like, I felt really, really defeated. And when we interviewed her just a few months ago, she goes, and think about those Belizeans that took the land and today are so grateful that they have it. They have access there now. There's a lot of development that's going on in that area. And so again, it just helps to put us in that frame of mind of saying, we don't necessarily need all of the amenities or everything around us right now when we're coming in with that mindset of land banking. If we're seeing that there's progress headed in that direction and we have the time to wait, let's take advantage of that, because there are not many opportunities, especially in Caribbean countries like this, that haven't yet plateaued. So in 2009 and 2011, this is when Grand Belizean Estates, that's another neighborhood there within Secret Beach. This is when this really started. This was a Canadian developer that came in, started doing this subdivision over here, started selling it. And again, a lot of people were like, what am I going to do with this land? What's going on over here? Why do I want it? And this land, when it was getting started, like in 2009, I mean, it was like $12,000. You can see it here. It's like 2009, 10, it was like $7,000, $8,000, $10,000. But again, there was no road there. There was no real way to get there unless you were taking a boat and then having to meander through, the swamps. Now, over time, as we started to see more infrastructure go in 2014, we saw that the road was graded to the Secret Beach turnoff. So to where the turnoff is to get into Secret Beach, it was graded. So there was actually access, but not into Secret Beach yet, just to the turnoff. And then the road, and a year later, the road was graded to the beach at Secret Beach. So you could actually get to the coast. And then in 2016, with this road access, that's when we started to see the bars and restaurants come. And then we've seen more and more and more pop up. And then in 2024, so last year, the main road from the Secret Beach turnoff to the Secret Beach has gotten paved. So at least the first mile has. There's still a couple more miles to get done, but that first mile from the beach going back out has gotten paved. So this is tremendous. Now, if you were one of those initial investors in Grand Belizean Estates, right? Because as foreigners, that's where we would have been able to invest. If you were, I'm saying you wouldn't have been able to get Ambergris Bay because that was for the locals. But in 2009, if you came in, 15, 16 years ago and you paid $7,000, $10,000 for a lot, kind of forgot about it. You paid $100 a year in taxes and whatnot. And then you went to sell it today, right? You're coming in at about $52,000 today for that parcel. So you're seeing a $40,000 profit in a 15-ish year term. And so there was really the sweet spot to invest in Secret Beach, right? It may not necessarily be where it's at today. I think that we had seen the exponential growth here before all of the popularity, before more people started hearing about it. I do still think, though, there are some good opportunities here. And when you're looking at Secret Beach, you need to look for land that's unique, land that's different, because there is about 4,500 parcels. You have to look for something that's a little differentiating from that land banking perspective. So here, this is showing 2014. And then we come over here to 2022. seeing like, look at all these roads. This is like the Ambergris Bay area that I was talking to you about, where the Belizeans are like, nah, we're not interested. We don't want it. Now you can see the road has gone in. These beachfront properties over here are going for $650 US just for the beachfront property. And remember, Secret Beach is completely off grid, no utilities here. But we can see it went from 1 acre of beachfront tourism development to 20 acres of beachfront tourism development, and it's still growing. So incredible to see that over less than 10 years of that. All of the little boxes that you see here, the yellow boxes, indicate surveyed parcels on Ambergris Caye. So this is specifically within the Secret Beach area. There are about 4,500 parcels here within Secret Beach. There's a new area over here that has just gone through the subdivision process. And this area over here, they're starting to go through the subdivision process as well. So, I still think there's good opportunities here, but like we were saying, it needs to be unique. It needs to be different because you can see how many parcels there are. So if you're land banking, you just have to imagine that the original people who are purchasing, they can always sell for less than you if you're getting in today because they have had that longer time and they haven't put as much money in as you. So something else to note, and also the initial investors got some really, really good financing. So in order to be competitive for resales here, you have to have really good financing. You have to cut back on your prices a little bit or have something that is completely unique and different. So again, Secret Beach, we have maybe about 4, 5, 6 dozen homes at Secret Beach, maybe a little bit more than that, more continuously under construction. This is probably one of the most affordable areas on the island right now where you can buy land. Land values have just skyrocketed, right? And so if you're somebody who's looking to relocate here, maybe you want to build a house, this is one of the only areas that you can find affordable land, come with the other being the Newtown area up north. So dozens of new projects and homes. This is the first condo project that is happening at Secret Beach, the only one as of today. It's called Turquoise Seas Studios, and 1 bedrooms directly looking over the turquoise waters, hence the name Turquoise Seas. A really, really beautiful property. And these studios starting at $299, and you're looking right out onto that water on a daily basis. So really, really beautiful opportunities. And if you want to buy land at Secret Beach, again, just the lot next door is going for $650 just for the lot alone. So we've seen this huge increase in prices over there. I think it's going to be stabilizing. I think we're going to start to see it really plateau until there's the next wave in this area. But we're really seeing the next wave is actually going up north. But again, if you find something different, then I would highly recommend jumping on it. So beachfront premiums, like we just talked about, because of all the growth and popularity there. What we're really starting to see too is this movement of appreciation going in this northward direction. So this is San Pedro town, as we indicated before, the green hexagon over here, the bridge that I showed you that connects the north to the south. And this bridge didn't go in all that long ago. I would say it was 2006 the bridge was, but then the road got paved in like 2015. And so I remember I would just never cross the bridge. I had no reason to. And now we live up on the northward side. And my coworker, she's like, you remember when you used to make such a big deal about going over the bridge and you would say how far it is and you had no reason to go. She's like, now you're the only one in our group that lives north of the bridge. And so more and more people are going in. And so it's really exciting to see and how we've been here for that. But I'm seeing this exponential growth, as we were mentioning before. So from 2016 to 2023, from the bridge to mile 4, is really where we've seen appreciate over this time. I would say if you're looking to land bank, this is not necessarily the right area to land bank unless you're at the top part of mile 4 over there, because this has already seen the appreciation. The road is paved, the bridge is in. If you were investing 10 years ago, that would have been the prime time to do it. But now beachfront property here is going for over $700,000. And I have a couple of examples for you that I'm going to show you in the next few slides. But as we continue up the coast, then we have mile 4 to 7. This is where people, when you're getting in now, we're going to see the next wave of appreciation. And then depending on your timeline, you're going to see that more, the higher you are on the island, the less expensive the real estate is going to be, but the longer time you have for it to reach those high peak levels of appreciation like we've seen here. So if you have 20 years to wait and your primary goal is just to buy beachfront land, affordable beachfront land, you should be looking up here in that Palm Bay area. It's a trek right now. It's a trek. It's not easily accessible. There's no electricity up there. However, you're not necessarily looking to do something on it right now. You're looking to land bank. So where you see that light bulb, this is where electricity currently goes up to. So from the bridge, it rides along the coast over here up to Tranquility Bay. So do bear that in mind as you are thinking about utilities, is that we actually do have electricity on the east side all the way up to Tranquility Bay. Secret Beach is all completely off grid still. And so this was something we had a meeting end of last year, 2024, there was a deal with the World Bank for a $300 million development of North Ambergris Caye, which includes new roads with proper drainage, sewage, electricity, and potentially a new airport. So this was really, really exciting because what we're starting to see is that push to go up north. And let me tell you this, the reason why there has been the push to go up north is because as you look at the map here, you can see a majority of the remaining land or a majority of the land is on the north side. So when developers are coming in, for example, and they want the larger tracts of land, they can't go down south because there aren't large enough tracts for them. So they're going in the northward direction. So this is where we're seeing the development. This is where we're seeing new hotels, whether boutique hotels or Airbnbs pop up, or just larger tracts of land that are ultimately getting subdivided, because this is where the land is. And again, having that electricity makes a really big deal, especially for developers, because then they don't have to do solar, which can get pricey, and then they don't have to depend fully on a generator. That's great backup, but they don't have to depend on that entirely if they're trying to build a hotel or a larger structure. So with that being said, we're seeing that it's happening. Right now, the road pavement goes to a little bit before Las Terrazas. So here's the Las Terrazas circle. So it goes about 3.5 miles north, about 3 miles north, and then the road is graded. So it's a beach road in parts of it, but you can continue up north, and then it's accessible to get to Robles, to get to Rocky Point, to get to these areas by golf cart or by a Polaris or a mule or a side-by-side. And then getting up here, it's fairly difficult to do so. So just something to bear in mind. And let me tell you, because we're driving golf carts and because the road is not paved all the way up, to go from the bridge to Tranquility Bay is about 1 hour and 45 minutes. So it's a trip, but to get from the bridge to the Secret Beach turnoff, it's about 15 minutes because most of that road is paved. And that's about a 3-mile, 4-mile distance from the bridge. And so you can see that that time is severely cut back because of the road being paved. And so we're starting to see, like I mentioned, that improvement in infrastructure. This is all something that is underway. And I heard rumors, like I take things with a grain of salt here in Belize because I've been hearing a lot of rumors about different things. But from somebody who's fairly close to the mayor, they did say that they're going to continue that road pavement up north in July. So I'll circle back in July and let you know if it started. Now that I say this out loud, I realize they did not specify which July. We're in 2025, but who knows, maybe they're in 2026. But we'll see. We take things with a grain of salt, but we just look at the progress and see what's going around. So I wanted to show you some examples of the beachfront properties and to see their prices. All right, so I mentioned to you that this circle over here, this is often referred to, the stretch here as like Millionaire Row, Beverly Hills, some really nice single family homes, some beautiful condo complexes right over here. But if you're looking for beachfront land in this first stretch, this is in the Tres Cocos area, the Beverly Hills of the island. If you're looking for land, just land in Tres Cocos for a 70 by 150, 70 feet by 150 feet, it's going for $735. This is all in US dollars, right? So this, if you're looking for land banking and appreciation, I wouldn't do it at this stretch unless you're getting a really good bargain. Now, the next grouping is in Spanish Reef. So this is the next area that I'm seeing is poised and is already actually going through that appreciation grouping. Is a 50 by 100 lot going for $350. It's a Caribbean front lot. These are all going to be beachfront examples. Now, note they're not all necessarily apples to apples because the sizes are a little bit different, but generally, I think we can get the picture here. Now, this is the Newtown area. So that red circle, mile 8 to 10, is the Newtown area. This is where I'm seeing the best value for the sooner appreciation. And this is a 70 by 190 going for $300,000. So this lot is bigger than this Tres Cocos lot, and this one is less than half the price. So again, if we just continue with the assumption that the land is going to gain value over time, this is giving you examples of what prices could be. This is in the San Roman area, about 8 miles, 8.5 miles north. See where that little arrow is? All right, Punta Azul. So Punta Azul is right over here. This is 12 miles north. This is 72 by 140, 72 by 140, going for 275. So you can see that these prices actually over here between the green and the blue, or the green and the red rather, are fairly close to each other, right? Especially for the size of the land, because we're starting to see that this is catching up because there's just not much beachfront property, right? So prices here are going to start to go up as there's less and less inventory available. All right, the next grouping, the blue grouping over here, this is in the Robles area, so mile 14. This is a 100 by 392 going for 225. So 100 feet of beachfront, which is larger than anything that we've seen so far, 392 feet deep. So this is almost an acre, going for 225. Really great value here. And then Palm Bay, this is going for 80,000. This lot, just to confirm, is 60 feet by 130, going for 80,000 in the Palm Bay area. That's 19 miles up here. This is the one that's the furthest away from that real push and appreciation. So the more north you're going, the more time I would recommend for holding onto the property. So I have a couple of tips with you. I'm going to share with you 3 tips and then one big mistake to avoid. The first tip is follow the path of progress. So check to see where the big money is going. And what I mean by that is the big companies are the ones that are coming in, the hotel chains, for example. They're coming in, they're doing the legwork, they're putting in the time, money, energy, resources to complete the feasibility studies and then moving forward. And so we already see here, there's a Margaritaville up north. It's about 12 and a half, 13 miles up north. They've already stationed themselves here. I say they're early to the market, right? They came in, we're not necessarily seeing incredible tourism in this north area yet. However, as we can see, the trajectory is happening in the northward direction. So I think they'll do well. Again, they're just a little early right now because it does take about an hour and 45 minutes by driving to get to Margaritaville via golf cart. Boat ride's about 35 minutes, 40 minutes. So easier to get there by boat for sure. And they do have a boat for their guests. So we see in town, there's already the big hotel chains there. So if the big hotel chains are there, you know, we're kind of missing on that appreciation, like the ideal land banking perspective. Land will always go up there because there's always going to be a demand and there's limited inventory, but the prices to get in within town are more expensive. Sixth Senses has announced that they'll be coming in over here, Cayo Rosario, and then just a couple of islands away, we have Key Chapel, which is going to be a 4 Seasons. I went about 3-4 weeks ago to go check on the progress. They're actively under construction. There are beachfront villas there, 2-3 bedroom are starting at $6 million, limited inventory. They're interviewing you to make sure they like you and want you to be an owner. It's that sort of exclusivity there, but it's a really remarkable testament to what's going on here in Belize. So with that being said, there's San Pedro town. There's Secret Beach, which is really that case study, the proof of concept, seeing that, there is this growth, there's this demand. We might have tapped out again unless you're coming in and finding the right opportunity at the right price. And then Newtown over here is where we're seeing that next trajectory. Again, there's more land up here. There's larger tracts of land, so there's more potential for developments and more growth generally. Now, the South, I say, is kind of like the redheaded stepchild, right? You don't really hear much about the South, but this is a fantastic residential area. This is actually, the South was the area that has developed the first here on the island because of San Pedro town, and there wasn't always the bridge going north, right? So when people were living here in San Pedro, families were growing, they needed more space. They started building out on the southward side, and electricity actually runs all the way to the south side of the island over here, and there's road access all the way to the south side. But again, as people needed more land, bigger land, they went up north, and that's why the north is really where we're seeing more of the land banking. Now, with that being said, though, for somebody who's looking to relocate here to Belize or is looking for a single family home, like an Airbnb or something like that, the South is a great place. And the reason I say that for families is all of the schools are currently located on the South side. In addition to that, you have beautiful Airbnbs, like single family homes right there on the coast that are doing very well, performing very well. And those are on the South side. So that's a different conversation. That's a different story. I do have a bonus for you on the South side in this presentation here, but I'll share that with you once we get there. Number 2 is determine your timeline. So realistically, how long do you want to own this property? Now, we understand life can get in the way. Your vision of maybe holding on to it for 20 years may have to be cut back to 10 years. Grandpops needs to go to the nursing home and you need to help him pay for whatever it is, right? We understand there's always going to be something that pops up or may pop up. So think about where and ideally what your timeline would be. and then what sort of budget you have, and make sure that those go hand in hand. If you're coming to me and you're saying, all right, I only have 2 years or 3 years to land bank, then I want to flip it. And I, want to be in this really great area that's already appreciating, and I have $50,000. That might not necessarily work too well based on the areas and the prices of where properties are that are appreciating at that rate. So just bear that in mind, understand that as you're going into your investment. And then tip number three is buy unique. Do not buy common. And what I mean by that is think a little bit outside the box. So what's going to make your property different compared to your neighbors or compared to any of the other lots or land that's there for sale? So think corner lots, for example, or adjacent parcels. This is one that I recommend if you have the ability to do so. Get two parcels side by side. Those always sell well together in the resale market. The package deal, right? You can sell it as a package deal. In addition to that, properties off the main road do tend to be great from the commercial perspective. We don't have zoning here in Belize, so all lots can be anything. So that being said, what is going to have value is commercial land, right? There's always going to be a restaurant that wants to open up. There's always going to be a shop that wants to open up, and they need to have access, right? And they need to have eyes passing regularly. So think about properties on the main road. Maybe properties that are a little bit larger than others in that same area. Square footage is a big indicator in what people are buying and for the prices that they're buying it at. And then like we were talking about that commercial versus residential, which being on the main road would help for that, help that. Now, if you're looking for more of that residential resale, then you probably don't want to be on the main road. So let's just quickly recap here. One is follow the path of progress and look to see where the big money's heading. And can you get ahead of that curve? Getting ahead of the curve is key. And when you're saying, oh, but it doesn't have road access. Oh, but I can't get there. But that's what you're looking for. If you want to get ahead of the curve, you don't want it to have all of that access or utilities yet. You want to be getting in at the lowest price to be able to hold on to it and let it appreciate. So when that goes in, you're getting a bigger appreciation. All right, number two is determine your timeline. Now, I always recommend here in Belize, whether you're planning to land bank or not, you want to hold on to your property for at least 3 years prior to selling it to make a profit for it. So in Belize, because our closing costs tend to be higher, about 10%, right? 8% stamp tax, 2% for the attorney, 10% needs to be allocated on top of the listing price to close on the property. When you start looking at all the numbers and the appreciation, and depending where you are, you want to hold on for at least 3 years to make money. Depends where you are. If the appreciation hasn't gotten there yet, it might be longer than that, but at least 3 years is my recommendation. And then, as we talked about, number three is buy unique. What is the competition like, and how is your property going to be different in the resale market? So here's my tip for you. And this is a big mistake that people make is they buy properties with a belief that the infrastructure is going to be in at a specific time. Timelines are not guaranteed. Infrastructure is talked about, it's discussed. We know there are areas that the infrastructure is going to be improved in, and we're starting to see that in some areas. However, it's never guaranteed. We're in Belize. Belize time is real. Island time is real. Things are going to take time. I've heard about this international airport north since I got here in 2012. If it happens, fantastic. If it doesn't, you know what? We still see the appreciation is heading there. Maybe it's not the same percentage of appreciation, but it's still going to be pretty darn close as we're seeing just a lack of properties, especially coastal properties. So we'll see. I mean, my personal opinion on that airport is I do think there will be an airport. I don't necessarily think it'll be international. I think it might be another stopover for the domestic plane. So Tropic Air comes to Belize City, or your international flight comes to Belize City. You hop on Tropic Air or Maya. You can land in San Pedro South. You can land in San Pedro North. I don't think it'll be international, but that's just my personal opinion on that. I know that Tropic Air and Maya Air are very good tax-paying customers. So if that, and this is their biggest route, San Pedro to the international airport. So if that gets cut, then Tropic and Maya lose a tremendous amount of revenue. So I don't know, my opinion, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm just sharing my insight with you. All right, so let's look at a couple of opportunities for profit. The first few are here in Secret Beach. They're ones that I found that I think are good values because like we talked about, there are a lot of lots in Secret Beach. So if you want something that is good for land banking, you want to be buying something that's different. Now, what I liked about this property is two things. This is actually one that one of my coworkers, Gian, has listed. And what I like about this property is that it's oversized compared to the other properties in Secret Beach. A lot of the other properties are 65 by 75 or 90 by 50. This one is 75 by 100, so it's about 7,500 square feet. And when we were searching the market to see what comps were available, there were some similar lots in this area going for at least 65,000, some up to 80,000. So this was an owner who got in a long time before most of the other people did. There were no roads over here, so she wasn't even able to see her property when she purchased. But she's not offering financing on this one, but it's going for 59,000. So this is a corner lot. We said corner is always most desirable, and it's also larger in size compared to the other Secret Beach properties. Here was an example of a comp in that same area going for $65,000. So again, there's usually some wiggle room negotiation on the listing price. So this is a good one to buy and hold, negotiate on the price a little bit. And you're already far ahead of the other ones that are getting sold here for 65, 70, 75,000. Now, if you see any opportunities on the screen that you'd like more information about, please do reach out to us. You can email me info@lunarealtybelize.com. We have an incredible group of team members who can send you all the information you need, answer any questions for you. But this is going to be opportunity number one. So you can always email us the opportunity number and we can get all those details to you. All right, the second opportunity for profit is also there at Secret Beach. And this is a 92 by 50 being offered at 99,000. The seller got this property at a real steal. And so compared to other properties, I tried to pull the comp for it, but the listing already got taken down because it sold. But it was listed about 7 months before this one was. And it was, if you can follow my cursor, it was about 6 or 7 rows over in this direction over here, and it went for 130. So this is, again, great value for the area. There's road access. You come around, and then this is all the paved road. We timed it. It was like 1 minute and 51 seconds to get here to the beach, and that was driving quite slowly. I'm a cautious driver, but about 1 minute and 50 something seconds to get here to that main Secret Beach area. So the fellow that's in the blue house behind this pin, he just built his home. He's living here full time. On the right-hand side, this is a convenience store and a couple of rental casitas. So what's nice is you have a little bit of separation from the main paved road. You're a second row from that. So this is great for an Airbnb property, something that's a little different, right? Because there's so many other lots at Secret Beach, but this one is unique because it's closer to the water and still a great price. Plus, the seller is willing to finance 50%. So you only have to put 49 down, but we'll round up 50,000 down. It's a 3-year term, so your monthly payments come out to $1,551. So that's opportunity number 2. That's lot 8347. And then again, coming back to properties. So we know waterfront properties are always going to be in demand. This is one of my favorite waterfront properties that we recently just listed. It has 2 beaches. And this was, I think, one of my favorite parts about this one. We were walking the property. It was so neat to be able to go from one side to the other and have water on either side. But this one is about 1/4 acre, so it's a great size. This is hard ground over here. I do note this one is boat access only. It's boat access only, but Secret Beach, there's a little cut over here if you can follow my cursor, and then just right below it is where the road is to get down to Secret Beach. So by boat, it's like 2 minutes from Secret Beach, which is pretty neat. But again, from the land banking perspective, you let it appreciate in value. This is probably one of the more affordable Secret Beach waterfront properties that we've seen. Like I talked to you about the one that was $650, right? So this one's going for $375. The seller is willing to finance as well over a 10-year term. This is not really heard of for many seller financing deals. Usually seller financing is 3 to 5 years. So it's 50% down, 10-year term, 10% interest. That brings your monthly payments to about $2,500 a month. And it's also held in a transferable Belize corporation, so they can transfer the shares over to you, and then you assume the corporation. This is going for $375, and this is opportunity for profit number 3. All right, we're going to jump from Secret Beach now to north. So, how I feel here, like really and truly, if you invest in land here on the island and you have time to wait and you purchase, you can't go wrong. That's personally the strategy that my husband and I have. Whenever we have some extra cash laying around, we're like, oh, just buy property, just buy property, just buy property. We gravitate more towards the north because of some of the reasons that I'm going to share with you here. But, having the bridge get installed. So before it was a crank bridge, right? Going from north to south. But before it was a crank bridge in 2006, they actually put a real bridge in so you can drive over. 2015, 2016, the road was paved up to about 3.5 miles north. So you can imagine between 2005 to 2015, what waterfront properties were going for at that time. Right now, when it gets paved in 2015, prices go up 10 years later as it's much more accessible, much more going on, many more commercial opportunities. 10 years later, those properties we showed you 735,000 US for a waterfront property within that range over here. It's crazy. But roads started to get installed in Newtown. So this is that mile 8 to 10 marker. Right, we saw that this was an area too, actually, in the Newtown area that the government allocated land and gave it to locals. So locals put their application in, they got approved for the land, and it's theirs. And this, to me, is huge, right? It's huge because in order for areas to grow, you need to have workers, you need to have employees, and having locals living in that area, to me, was a sign of a healthy growth, a healthy neighborhood in that northward direction. So the Newtown area, mile 8 to 10, we saw electricity getting installed. Then also in 2024, that second lane of the bridge was installed. So that was really exciting to have one lane going in each direction. And then 2024, we saw that screenshot of the infrastructure plan for the north was announced. And then 2025, we see that the infrastructure plan is underway. So these are just some assumptions of what we're going to be seeing prices go to. I mean, that could be completely off here, right? Maybe I'm underestimating, maybe I'm overestimating, but the north is where we really see that growth if you want to get in before the big boom. Like we saw what happened at Secret Beach, it's coming to the north, and here we are to tell you about it, right? But let's look at a couple of the things that have started in that northward direction. So this is mile 8 to 10, which is the area that's being called Newtown. This is one of my new favorite little boutique Airbnbs that open. It's little concrete A-frame homes. I was going to mess up, but I think it's Sand and Sky or Sand and Sun. But they're adorable. These just opened, and that's located right over in this area. We're about 9.5 miles north. Sapphire Beach, which is the blue roofs over here. This is an existing resort condo community. El Norte is already here. In the Wild, that's over here just south of Platinum Point. That's a locally owned sports bar, sports grill. And then up north is located about 7 miles. So right over in this area over here is where up north is. It's a driving range, axe throwing, and darts. So again, as you look at the land here, you can see there's more land for things to happen, more growth, more development. And different people on it, right? So it's nice to have a variety of what's going to go in, but it's all in the works. It's still, as you saw from the screen, it's still, 5, 10, 20-year projections here. But what I like about this area as well is that in the Newtown area, there's already a police station and land has been allocated for a hospital and a school. When that happens, I don't know, right? I don't know when the hospital goes in. I don't know when the school goes in. Right now, there's one school bus on the island. It's parked up here in Newtown, and it takes the local kids to school on a daily basis because they don't have a school up here yet. So we're excited for that as that area continues to grow, as there's economy of scale to have those sort of services. We do know that the land has already been allocated for it. So a lot going on up here. And I think, sometimes people drive up there and they're like, look, it's just so quiet. There's nothing going on. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. Here are some of the new developments that are just starting to pop up. Silver Palms, this one will be released to the public soon. We're really excited about this one. It's a 700 lot planned community where the developers are putting in concrete roads. They're putting in wastewater management. So you'll have clean water, you'll have sewage. You don't have to worry about your own septic tanks there. This one we're really excited about. In addition to that, there's the quarry up here. And the quarry is planning, once they're done digging, to do a lake community up here. When I spoke to these guys, they said it's still about 12 years away, right? So this, again, is not something that's happening tomorrow, but this is about a 12 to 13-year plan. And they've based that on when they're able to finish pulling up all the dirt and everything and all the marl from the quarry. At that point, that's when the quarry will be done, and they'll be able to utilize that newly formed lake from all of the digging that they've done. So really cool stuff happening. And then Margaritaville is just up north here a little bit more. This area on the right-hand side, the left-hand side, Bracelet Caye, and you can see these little fish. This is some of the best fishing here on the island. Fisherman's Cove at Bracelet Caye. This is Bracelet Caye right over here. There's small new subdivision here again, perfect for the land banking. Think about as Silver Palm comes on the market and you have a property here just right across the way at Caye Caye, how the value of that will increase. And then of course the reef, right? The reef is one of the big reasons why people continue to come here and will always come here. So for people on the east side, having access, quick access to that reef is really important. So I have a few opportunities for you in the north area. This is located in that Newtown area. This is probably one of the best values I've found in Newtown. It's a 50 by 90. It's going for 35,000 US. There's a road easement allocated. So you can see here on the screen, there's a road right over here, but it's not yet in. Also, there's not yet electricity to this parcel. In the surrounding areas, there's electricity in the surrounding areas. There's also road access, not paved, but roads in, right? Graded roads. And so this is one of those opportunities where you get in now and the price is 35,000 because it doesn't yet have electricity or the road access in, but it's coming. And we know it's coming because we've seen the rest of Newtown and we see how little by little more electricity poles are going in and more roads are going in. This one is cash only, but for 35,000, I think it's a great way to just enter into the market. All right, number 5, this is going to be Platinum Point subdivision. Platinum Point is a 60 lot subdivision with Newtown around. You can see this is where the allocated school and hospital are. There's a few mom and pop grocery stores, Bonitos, and a couple of others along this way. Airbnbs lining the coast over here, Sapphire Beach, which is the picture we showed you with the blue roofs, Margaritaville in the distance. So this property is 1,000 feet from the Caribbean, 2,000 feet from the lagoon. It also has, so Newtown over here, and then this area that's in this area is called Palmero Point. So a great property. What I really like about this one is the financing, 70% financing. The developer is willing to do a 30-year amortization term, but it's going to be a 5-year balloon. So 8% interest. When you start to run numbers, it's less than $17,000 down. Your monthly payments are less than $300. And then your final balloon payment is going to be about $38,000. However, over the 5 years, I recommend paying down the principal so you don't have that big balloon at the end. But great opportunities here, right there in that Platinum Point area between Newtown, between the Heredia area and Palmero Point. So with this one specifically, the developer has authorized us to give a $1,000 discount to anybody who was on our session here or who perhaps has listened. Again, if anyone's listening on YouTube, this may be expired already or these may have already sold, so please just reach out. But if this is something that's of interest to you, these lots now 11, 14, 15, 18, 19, 22 can be for $54,900 with that financing. You just have to mention the land banking webinar, May 2025, when you reach out to us via email info@lunarealtybelize.com. But again, this is ideal for buy and hold. This developer, I should have mentioned this, she's also offering financing on clearing and filling. That is not something that's standard, but if you're somebody who is looking to maybe prepare the land for the future, then you can decide to clear and fill it with her and she'll finance that for you. So she'll finance typically 50% of that clearing and filling, but she's certainly willing to negotiate if you're up for it. But we have had one owner, is one of these two parcels where he's clearing and filling and he left, instead of clear cutting everything, he left a few feet of shrubbery along his boundary line, since setbacks in Belize are 5 feet. So he wanted a little bit of separation between his neighbor's lot and his. So something to think about, but $1,000 off, every $1,000 counts, guys. So that's some good stuff there. All right, I have a few more opportunities for you. This one is in Habanero. So right now we're 10 miles north. This one is 8.5 miles north, the Platinum Point subdivision. And then you go past Sapphire Beach and there's the bar called El Norte. And that's where this area is, the Habaneros area. So this lot is a little bit larger. These are about 5,500 square feet. These lots, this one's about 7,000 square feet, 850 feet to the Caribbean. This owner did put this road in. He had a few parcels here. He put this road in. So you have really easy and quick access to the beach. And this is all public beach over here. So you can grab your lawn chair, go open it up, bring your picnic lunch and hang out here by the waters. We have found that this area is, yes, of course, great for land banking, but then also for people who are thinking about maybe living here at some point because it's not as dense. And I have, if you are interested in this area, we can do a one-on-one and I can show you the yellow lined map so you can see it, but there's just not as high density here as there are in other places on the island. So this is great too for just a little bit quieter of a lifestyle. But the quarry is close by, so it's a great location too. So 850 feet to the Caribbean, road access and electricity is already here. In fact, this is a house that's already existing. Electricity runs down this road, so you have easy access to get electricity. This developer is willing to do, or the seller rather, is willing to do financing 30% down. So you're putting 16,700 down. It's a 5-year term with 8% interest. So it's $794.83 per month. All right, I have 2 more for you. This one is that Fisherman's Cove area that I was talking about at Brasselet Caye. So follow my cursor right over here. This is Fisherman's Cove at Brasselet Caye. This is where the area that we're indicating has some of the best fly fishing. It's where people come specifically to Belize, to Ambergris Caye to fly fish in this area. There's also a fly fishing camp just around the corner. If you can follow my cursor and about this area right over here. So this is the land banking. I'd say if you're looking to build in the next 5 years, 10 years, this is probably not the right property for you. This is ideal for someone who wants waterfront or affordable second row. And the second row starting at 45,000, waterfront starting at 95,000. It's only 4 miles from Secret Beach. So this is all the Secret Beach area over here. And then this is Brasselet Caye right over here in this area. So financing is available for 2 or more parcels. However, we can always talk to the owner if you're interested in seeing what that looks like. There are a few here that are already sold. They're not indicated here, but we can always give you the updated site map if you are interested in this one. But again, really great prime waterfront locations. As you can see from the pictures, a little bit of a cloudy day, but it's like that crystal clear blue water that you can just walk right out into. Oh, it's just really beautiful up here. Really, really beautiful. And that's Fisherman's Cove. And then last but not least, this is the prime lot south. This is a bonus I wanted to throw in here. I know we didn't talk much about the south. However, I do see this as a really good opportunity because the price is really good for what you're getting. It's a solid lot. The seawall is already in. You have some landscaping palm trees already on the property. This is 50 by about 120 road access. You can see the electricity poles over here. So you have that access. In addition to that, financing is available. So this is one of the only parcels, I mean, really and truly, the only parcel I know that's under 300,000 on the Caribbean with financing. So this is a real winner. This is about 5 miles south and it takes about 20 minutes to get here from town. About 20 minutes. The road is fine. It's graded. It's not paved the whole way, but it's a solid grade going down. So this is great to build, or if you just want to hold on for 3, 4, 5 years and then sell it, I do think you can make a pretty nice profit because it is priced fairly low for being very low, actually, for being a Caribbean front property here. So this is south going for $269 with financing. The seller hasn't specified terms for the financing. However, typically we see about 50% down, 3 to 5 year term, 8 to 10% interest. But again, just depends on you and what you're looking to put in for an offer. And also what the seller is willing to accept, of course. All right, so let me just do a quick recap. So number 1 is lot 1493. This is the oversized corner lot in Secret Beach. Number 2 is lot 8347, only 2 minutes away from the beach. And this is a 50 by 92. The third opportunity is the property with two beaches over 1/4 of an acre, going for $375. The next opportunity, number 4, is in Newtown. I think it's the best value right now, especially as we're preparing to see roads come in, to see electricity come in, and then property values will instantly jump up about $10,000. But this is going for $35,000. It's a 50 by 90, cash only for this one. Number 5 is Platinum Point. This one has 70% financing and then the $1,000 discount for anybody who is here on the session with us. Again, just remember, please remember to mention the land banking webinar May 2025. Habaneros, this is located 10 miles north, 850 feet from the Caribbean Sea right over here. And there's that road that was just put in. I mean, this is like over the last 4 or 5 months, this road was put in. So very easy access, and you're at the beach in a minute. Really nice spot. And this also has 70% financing. Opportunity number 7, Fisherman's Cove at Brasselet Caye, starting at $45,000 for the second row parcels. And then the bonus prime lot south, which is going for, oh, I didn't have the price on there. I just realized, sorry about that, guys. $269. This is going for $269.9, or sorry, just $269 is what it's going for. So again, under $300,000 with financing, it's a real steal. So Oh, I wanted to mention this too. So this is the one I just showed you. This is a comp to what I just showed you. This one is a little bit larger in size. Do note that, but this one's going for about 40,000, 50,000 more than what the other one's going for. This is 40,000 more than the one I just showed you. So still 50 feet though, right? 50 feet of beach frontage, 50 feet here, 50 feet here, and going for 310, where this one will just round up going for 270. So again, just understanding, seeing these good value properties, and then executing when you see something that's of interest, because everyone comes in, literally, like everyone comes in, I want a good deal, like find me the best price, I want a good deal, show me what a good deal is. So we're showing you the good deals, and if you're interested in any of them, please do reach out to us. Our team is more than happy to answer those questions for you. info@lunarealtybelize.com, info@lunarealtybelize.com, and we can get those details over to you. So what I'll do is I'll open up the floors to questions. I know we've gone about an hour. I apologize. I think that was a little bit longer than I anticipated to talk, but we had a lot of good information to share with you. So feel free to type your questions here into the Q&A section, and I can get those over to you. So somebody is asking me a little bit more about seller financing. Can you explain seller financing to us, or financing generally? All right, so for foreigners, it's very difficult to find traditional bank financing. In fact, there just isn't traditional bank financing for foreigners who are buying property here in Belize. There's one bank, one international bank, KeyBank, C-A-Y-E, and they'll loan to you for a finished property, or they'll give you a construction loan. However, their terms are 50% down, 50% down, 10-year term, 11% interest. And then you have the loan origination fee, which is close to 3%, and you have to maintain a bank account with them. So I say that's a good option if some of your other options don't work out. But for land, they actually don't finance for land at all. So if you're looking for land banking opportunities with financing, you're going to depend on the seller to offer seller financing. Not all sellers are willing to finance. Only about 20 to 25%, maybe 30% now are willing to offer seller financing. And how that works is you will have an agreed upon down payment that'll go to the escrow company. Upon closing, that'll get transferred over to the seller. And then thereafter, typically the first of the following month, the month following close, you're going to be paying the seller directly any monthly payments. Now, the title stays with the closing company. It sits there in escrow, the hard copy title to the property, and it doesn't get transferred until the property is paid off in full. So you'll want to make sure you're making those payments every month, because typically after 45 days of non-payment, the seller gets the property back and the seller gets to keep anything that's already been paid. So you want to make sure if you're taking advantage of seller financing, you're in that position financially to be paying on a monthly basis to the seller. And then the title gets transferred once the property is paid off in full. There's some negotiation with sellers who are willing to offer seller financing on terms. However, standard terms that we see is a 3 to 5 year term, 50% down, and then 8 to 10% interest. So we can always run those numbers for you. We have the loan calculator, and we can run those for you. But that's why in the session here, I wanted to highlight the ones that did have seller financing, because otherwise, if they don't, it's going to be a cash market. Belize, because it is a cash market, we don't see all those big, ebbs and flows like in the United States or places, the housing crisis and crazy low interest rates, and now they're starting to skyrocket back up. No, here we own the properties, we buy the properties with cash. Now, locals are able to get financing through the bank. However, their terms are not necessarily as they are in the States. What some people have done in North America is they'll get a HELOC, or they'll get a line of credit or finance against their current home, and then they'll use that money to bring in as cash to Belize and then purchase properties in cash. So really good question there. Thank you so much for that. I have somebody asking about the closing process. So if you see a property you like, typically what you'll do is work with your real estate agent, complete an offer to purchase. You'll have the standard contingencies in there, like making sure there's a clear title. Maybe you'll do a land survey. Maybe if it's a finished property, you're going to get an inspection done. Once those contingencies are cleared, you move into the close. The earnest deposit that you put in, which is 10%, becomes non-refundable. They'll prepare the paperwork, complete a deed of conveyance. Wet signatures are required with your pen. You'll have to go in front of a notary, sign off on documents, mail it back down to Belize. And then from there, you'll close according to the schedule. Typically, it's about a 60-day close here in Belize. I've seen some that are shorter, but by the time that all contingencies are cleared, by the time paperwork gets in your hands, it's going to be a little bit more time. So about 60 days is what we anticipate. Really great questions. right? I'm seeing some people ask specifically about opportunities. What you can do is email us, info@lunarealtybelize.com. One of my, I think the best things to do is hop on a Zoom call or, one-on-one or with one of our agents. And then we can go through your specific interests. We can pull up the map with all the yellow lines and go through some of the better areas based on what your interests are. We, as a real estate company, are very happy to work with you and show you the entire island and really hear what you're looking for. Even show you listings that aren't ours, right? It's not, doesn't matter what we have, it matters what you're interested in. And so we can certainly work with you as a buyer's agent. So we have an incredible team. We're here to help you. I know we've gone past the 1 hour mark. I apologize. I've got excited and shared some great information with you and just kept rolling. But with that, I'm seeing some more specific one-on-one questions. So we'll plan to talk offline and then go from there. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this Saturday morning. We really do appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you here in Belize at some point. All right. Bye, everyone.